The rain hammered the terracotta roof like accusations from a forgotten god, each drop a reminder of the life Hope had buried 15 years ago. She stood in the doorway of the old family finca, her designer trench coat dripping onto the saltillo tiles, as her mother's frail voice cracked through the dim parlor. "You think money buys forgiveness? It didn't save you then, and it won't now." And in that instant, as lightning split the sky over the Sierra de Aracena, Hope realized the ghost she'd come to exorcise wasn't her family's shame. It was the woman waiting in the shadows, the one who'd shattered her heart and held the key to a truth that could unravel everything. Hope Vargas gripped the steering wheel of her rented Mercedes like it was the only anchor in a storm-tossed sea, the winding roads of Huelva province blurring past in a haze of olive groves and cork oaks. It was November, and the air carried that crisp bite from the Atlantic, the kind that seeped into your bones and whispered of secrets long interred. 15 years. That's how long it had been since she'd last navigated these hairpin turns, fleeing in the dead of night with nothing but a backpack and a bus ticket to Lisbon, then onward to a new world across the ocean. America had swallowed her whole. Its neon lights, its relentless grind, its promise of reinvention, and spat her out a billionaire CEO of Vanguard Tech, a name synonymous with innovation in sustainable energy. But success was a hollow crown when your roots were rotten. The call had come 2 weeks ago, terse and trembling from her younger brother, Mateo. "Mama's dying, Hope. Cancer. She asked for you." Asked for her. After the letters went unanswered, the emails marked as spam, the occasional tabloid whisper of her lavish life, met with radio silence. Hope had stared at her reflection in the penthouse mirror that night in San Francisco, the city lights twinkling like distant stars, and wondered if she was still the scared 18-year-old who'd been dragged from her bed by her father's bellowing rage. "Filha de puta. Get out. You're no daughter of mine." The words had echoed across the Atlantic, but they'd never faded. She pulled up to the finca as dusk bled into the hills, the stone walls weathered like the lines on her mother's face would be. The iron gate creaked open under her tires, and there it was. The sprawling estate that had once been paradise, now a faded postcard of privilege. Hope's family had owned these lands for generations, vineyards that supplied Riojano bodegas, olive presses that fed half of Andalusia, wealth that bought silence but not peace. She killed the engine and stepped out, her heels sinking into the gravel. The air smelled of wet earth and rosemary, a scent that clawed at her chest. The front door swung open before she could knock. Mateo stood there, taller now, his once boyish face etched with the worry of a man in his 30s. "Hermana," he breathed, pulling her into a hug that smelled of tobacco and desperation. "You came." "Of course I came," she murmured, her voice steadier than she felt. Over his shoulder she glimpsed the parlor, flickering candlelight, the Virgin Mary icon on the mantel, and her mother Elena, propped in an armchair like a queen dethroned. Tubes snaked from her arm to a humming machine, her silver hair a stark halo against the lace doily. Elena's eyes, sharp as ever, locked onto Hope's. No warmth, just appraisal. "Sit," Elena rasped, gesturing to the worn leather sofa. Hope obeyed, shedding her coat like a skin. Mateo hovered, pouring sherry into crystal glasses with hands that shook. The silence stretched, thick as the fog rolling in from the coast. "You look prosperous," Elena finally said, her gaze tracing the diamond studs in Hope's ears, the subtle gold watch that screamed old money remade. "What do they call you now?" "La Magnate." Hope forced a smile, the kind she'd perfected in boardrooms. "CEO works fine, Mama." But the word Mama tasted like ash. "How are you feeling?" "Like death warmed over." "But that's no surprise." Elena sipped her sherry, wincing. 15 years, Hope. You could have called. You made it clear I wasn't welcome." The word slipped out sharper than intended, slicing the air. Mateo's flinch was audible. Elena's laugh was a dry rattle. "We did what we had to. For the family. For the name." She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "But blood calls to blood, doesn't it? Even tainted blood." Hope's pulse thrummed in her temples. Tainted. The word that had branded her since that humid August night. She and Poppy, God Poppy, stealing moments in the vineyard shed, their laughter muffled by the crush of grapes underfoot. 17, invincible. In love with the girl next door whose freckles mapped constellations on her skin. Poppy Montoya, with her wild auburn curls and eyes like the Welva Sea after a storm. They'd been careful, or so Hope thought. Until the whispers turned to shouts, and her father found the Polaroid tucked in her Bible. Their arms entwined, lips brushing in the moonlight. The expulsion had been swift. Father's belt cracking against the dining table, mother's sobs. The priest summoned for an exorcism that felt more like a funeral. And Poppy, sweet terrified Poppy, nowhere to be seen. Hope had pounded on the Montoya door until her knuckles bled. But it stayed shut. By dawn she was on that bus, heart in tatters, vowing never to return. Now, in this room heavy with ghosts, Hope swallowed the lump in her throat. Why now, Mama? After all this time? Elena's eyes softened just a fraction. Because there's something you need to know. About that night. About her. Her. Hope's breath caught. Poppy. A nod. She's here. In town. Come tomorrow. You'll see. Mateo cleared his throat. Mama, maybe. No. Elena's hand shot up, frail but commanding. It's time. The truth has festered long enough. Hope lay awake that night in her old room. The canopy bed, a relic of girlhood dreams. Moonlight filtered through the shutters, painting silver stripes on the walls. She traced the faded wallpaper roses with her finger, remembering how Poppy had once pressed a wildflower there, promising eternity. Lies all of it? Or was it? Sleep evaded her, chased by fragments. Bored meetings in glass towers, lovers who came and went like seasons, the emptiness that no acquisition could fill. At 33, Hope Vargas was untouchable, except by this. Dawn broke with a vengeance, the sun gilding the hills in false gold. She dressed in jeans and a silk blouse, armor for the battlefield ahead. Breakfast was a tense affair. Tortilla española picked at, café con leche gone cold. Mateo drove her into Huelva proper, the town a labyrinth of whitewashed alleys and tapas bars buzzing with early risers. Poppy runs the bookstore now, he said, glancing sideways. After her parents. Well, they passed. Car accident 5 years back. Hope nodded, filing it away. The bookstore, Libreria dell'Olivo, sat on a cobbled square, its green awning fluttering like a flag of truce. She paused at the door, hand on the brass knob, heart slamming against her ribs. What if Poppy had moved on? Married, kids, a life scrubbed clean of their sin? The bell tinkled as she entered. Shelves groaned under the weight of leather-bound classics and dog-eared romances, the air thick with ink and aged paper. And there, behind the counter, was Poppy. Older, yes, lines feathering her eyes, auburn hair tamed into a loose braid, but still her, the curve of her smile, the way her fingers danced over a ledger like they once danced over Hope's skin. Hope! Poppy's voice was a whisper, a prayer. She straightened, knocking over a stack of postcards. They fluttered to the floor like fallen leaves. Yeah. Hope's throat tightened. It's me. The silence was a chasm. Poppy rounded the counter, stopping an arm's length away. Up close, the years showed in the hollows of her cheeks, the faint scar above her brow from a childhood fall. But those green eyes, unchanged, pulling Hope under like riptides. I heard about Elena, Poppy said softly. I'm sorry. Don't be. She's a fighter. Hope shoved her hands in her pockets. You look good. A wry smile. Liar. I look like I've been through the ringer. She gestured to the cafe table in the corner. Coffee? On the house. They sat, the steam from their espressos curling between them like unspoken words. Poppy stirred in sugar, 3 lumps just like always. 15 years, she murmured. Feels like yesterday and forever. Hope traced the rim of her cup. Why didn't you come with me? That night I waited. Hours. Poppy's face crumpled. My father. He found out. Beat me black and blue. Said if I followed you, he'd burn the vineyard. I was scared, Hope. So damn scared. The admission hung there raw and jagged. Hope wanted to rage, to demand more. But the hurt in Poppy's eyes mirrored her own. And after? Letters? Calls. I wrote. Hundreds. To that P.O. box in Lisbon. Then stateside addresses I scraped from magazines. They came back unopened. Poppy's voice broke. Your family, they made sure. Hope's mind reeled. Unopened? She'd never seen them. The betrayal twisted deeper. Not just Poppy's absence, but her family's iron grip. Mama wants to talk. About that night. Says there's a truth. Poppy paled. Don't. Some things are better buried. But Hope was already standing, the hook of curiosity lodged too deep. I'm going back. And you're coming with me. The drive to the finca was silent, the radio humming flamenco tunes that twisted like knives. Poppy fidgeted in the passenger seat, her sundress rumpled, fingers twisting a silver locket. Hope's old gift, she realized with a pang. When they pulled up, Elena was in the garden, bundled in a shawl, gazing at the vines as if they held absolution. Mija. Elena greeted Poppy with a nod, no embrace. Sit. Both of you. They settled on wrought iron chairs, the metal cold against Hope's skin. Elena's breath came in shallow bursts, but her words were steady. I owe you this. That night, your father and we panicked. The town, the church. It would have destroyed us. So we sent you away. But there was more. Hope leaned forward. More. Elena's eyes flicked to Poppy. She didn't betray you, Hope. I did. The world tilted. Poppy's gasp echoed Hope's shock. What? I paid her father to keep her quiet. Threatened to ruin the Montoyas if she spoke. And the letters. Elena's voice faltered. Mateo, under my orders, intercepted them. Burned them. Betrayal bloomed hot and fierce. Hope surged to her feet, chair scraping. You stole my life. For what? Pride. Elena's tears carved tracks down her cheeks. I was wrong. Dying makes a woman honest. Forgive me or don't. But know this. Poppy never stopped loving you. Poppy reached for Hope's hand, tentative. Their fingers brushed, electric. For the first time in years, Hope didn't pull away. The revelation settled over the garden like a sudden frost, wilting the late-blooming jasmine. Hope paced the flagstone path, her mind a whirlwind of fury and fragile hope. 15 years of exile, of building walls higher than the Sierras, and it all traced back to this woman, her mother, architect of her isolation. Poppy sat frozen, her green eyes wide with the shock of vindication long denied. Elena watched them both, her frail form shrinking further into the shawl, as if the confession had drained the last of her vitality. Why? Hope whirled, voice cracking like thunder. Why go to such lengths? I was your daughter. Elena met her gaze, unyielding. Because I was terrified. Of losing everything. The finca, the legacy, the whispers that would follow us to the grave. Your father. He died broken, you know. Heart attack 2 years after you left. Blamed himself till the end. Hope stopped, the words piercing like shrapnel. Her father, stern, unyielding Don Carlos, reduced to a shadow. She'd imagined him thriving in her absence, toasting to the purity of his bloodline. Not this. And you? Did you blame me? A pause heavy as the gathering clouds. Every day. But love twists us, Hope. It makes monsters of mothers. Poppy stirred then, her voice soft but steel-edged. You destroyed us both, Senora Vargas. Hope across an ocean, me here. Piecing together scraps of what we had. She touched the locket at her throat, the silver warmed by her skin. Inside, Hope knew was that Polaroid, their only relic. Elena's nod was weary. I know. That's why I called her back. To mend what I broke. If you can. The afternoon dissolved into a haze of strained conversation, Mateo joining them with a pitcher of gazpacho that no one touched. He avoided Hope's eyes, guilt etched in his furrowed brow. I was just a kid, Hermana. Mama said it was for the best. Best for who? Hope snapped, but there was no venom left, only exhaustion. As the sun dipped low, painting the vines in crimson, Elena retired to her room, leaving the three of them in the garden's embrace. Poppy stood, brushing dirt from her dress. I should go. The shop. No. Hope's hand shot out, grasping her wrist. The contact was fire, familiar and forbidden. Stay. Please. Poppy searched her face, then nodded. Dinner was a quiet affair. Paella simmered with saffron and secrets, eaten under the pergola strung with fairy lights. Mateo regaled them with tales of the vineyard's revival, organic certification, exports to New York boutiques, but his laughter rang hollow. Hope stole glances at Poppy, noting the way she tucked a curl behind her ear, the faint laugh lines that spoke of joys Hope had missed. What life had Poppy built in her stead? Lovers? Dreams deferred? After Mateo cleared the plates, he excused himself to check on Elena. The night air cooled, carrying the distant strum of a guitar from the village below. Hope and Poppy migrated to the veranda, settling into Adirondack chairs that creaked like old bones. "Tell me everything," Hope said, her voice barely above the cicadas' hum. "These years. Don't spare me." Poppy leaned back, staring at the stars wheeling overhead. "After you left, it was hell. My father locked me in my room for a week, preaching fire and brimstone. When he finally let me out, I worked the groves till my hands blistered, trying to forget. But I couldn't. I'd sneak to the shed at night, press my cheek to the wall where we carved our initials. H+P. Forever." Hope's chest ached. "I did the same. In hostels, in dorms. Traced invisible lines on my arm, pretending it was you." A soft laugh escaped Poppy. "We were such romantics. Then college and Sevilla, literature of course. I buried myself in books, Austen and Woolf, stories of women who loved fiercely despite the world." She paused, voice thickening. "There were others. Fleeting. A painter in Granada, a professor's TA. But none like you. They saw the shell, not the storm inside." Hope swallowed hard. "America was my escape hatch. Community college in California, coding boot camps. I poured everything into algorithms, predicting patterns, controlling chaos. Vanguard started as a garage hack for solar grids. Now it's global." She waved a hand, dismissive. "But it's lonely up there. Boardrooms full of suits who don't know my name, let alone my heart." Poppy turned, her profile silvered by moonlight. "And lovers?" "A few. The lawyer in D.C., polished and safe. The artist in L.A., wild but wandering. They ended because I was always looking over my shoulder for you." The admission hung between them, vulnerable as a bared vein. Poppy reached out, her fingers lacing through Hope's. "I never stopped either. Even when I thought you'd moved on, become that untouchable magnate. I'd see your face on billboards, Hope Vargas, Powering Tomorrow, and wonder if you'd smile the same." Hope squeezed her hand, the warmth seeping into her soul. "I do. For you I would." They sat like that until the chill drove them inside, the Finca's halls echoing with their footsteps. Hope led Poppy to the guest room, the one with the balcony overlooking the sea. At the door, Poppy hesitated. "Thank you. For today. For believing me." "I always did," Hope whispered. "Deep down." The door closed softly, but sleep was a stranger. Hope tossed in her bed, replaying the day's fractures. Elena's confession, Poppy's touch. Dawn found her in the kitchen, brewing coffee strong enough to wake the dead. Mateo wandered in, rumpled and red-eyed. "She's worse," he said, pouring a cup. "Doctor's coming today." Hope nodded, steeling herself. "I'll handle it. Whatever she needs." He studied her then. "You know, after you left, Poppy came here. Begged Mama to tell you the truth. Got turned away at the gate." The image stung, Poppy young and defiant, facing the lioness alone. "Why didn't you help?" "I tried. Once. Snuck her a letter. Mama found it, tore it up. Said it was poison." Mateo's shoulders slumped. "I'm sorry, Hope. For all of it." Forgiveness was a bridge she wasn't ready to cross, but she clapped his shoulder anyway. "We're all sorry now. Let's make it right." The doctor arrived mid-morning, a harried man from the clinic in Mogur with a stethoscope and somber news. Weeks, maybe days. Elena took it with stoic grace, then beckoned Hope close. "There's more. A box. In the attic. For you." The attic was a time capsule. Trunks of christening gowns, yellowed deeds, the faint scent of lavender sachets. Hope hauled down a weathered cedar chest, its lock rusted but yielding to a paperclip. Inside, letters. Hundreds bundled with twine, Poppy's looping script on envelopes postmarked Sevilla, Madrid, even New York. And beneath them, a manila folder, medical records, faded photos. Hope's hands trembled as she opened it. The top sheet. A birth certificate. Not hers. A baby's, Maria Elena Vargas Montoya. Born March 15, 2009. Mother, Poppy Montoya. Father, unknown. The world grayed at the edges. A child. Theirs? But how? Wait, no, the dates. Hope's flight had been August 2008. Impossible. Or was it? Footsteps on the stairs. Poppy appeared, drawn by the noise. Hope? What's? She saw the certificate, froze. Dios mío. You had a baby? Hope's voice was a thread. Poppy sank to the floorboards, tears spilling. Not just any baby. Ours. Or what we thought was. The story unfolded in halting breaths. After Hope left, Poppy discovered she was pregnant. Not from their love, but a desperate one-night stand with a vineyard hand, a fumbling attempt to fix herself. The baby, Maria, lived only 3 days, complications, a heart defect. Poppy buried her alone, the family insisting on secrecy to avoid scandal. I named her after Elena, Poppy whispered, hoping for forgiveness. But it was my secret shame. Hope pulled her close, the letters scattering like confetti. You carried this alone? We both did. Different burdens. Poppy's sob shook them both. I thought you'd hate me if you knew. The imperfection of it. Never. Hope rocked her, the attic a cocoon of grief and grace. Below, Mateo's voice called. Elena was asking for them. They descended, hands clasped, the folder tucked under Hope's arm. In the sick room, Elena waited, eyes glassy but alert. You found it. Hope knelt by the bed. Maria. Why hide her? Because pain like that. It consumes. Elena touched Hope's cheek. But secrets consume more. Let it go. Live. The words were a bomb, tentative. Poppy echoed them, squeezing Hope's hand. As evening fell, the 3 women, mother, daughter, almost sister, shared vigil, the room filling with stories. Childhood escapades, lost loves, the quiet revolutions of survival. That night, under a canopy of stars, Hope and Poppy walked the vineyard rows, the earth soft underfoot. What now? Poppy asked, her head on Hope's shoulder. Now? We rebuild. Together. Hope kissed her temple, chaste and profound. If you'll have me. Poppy's smile broke the dawn. Always. But peace was fleeting. The next morning brought conflict's sharp edge. A knock at the finca door. Father Ruiz, the village priest, face thunderous, clutching a rosary like a weapon. Elena Vargas, he intoned. Your sins cry out. This reunion. It's an abomination. Father Ruiz's arrival shattered the fragile truce like a stone through stained glass. He strode into the parlor, his black cassock a stark contrast to the sun-dappled rugs, his face a mask of pious fury. Mateo trailed behind, apologetic, muttering something about a routine visit. But Hope knew better. The old man's eyes darted to her and Poppy, seated close on the sofa, their knees brushing in silent solidarity. Whispers had spread, as they always did in Huelva. The prodigal daughter returned, the forbidden flame rekindled. Elena, Ruiz began, voice booming like a confessional echo. I've come to administer the sacraments. But first we must address this pollution in your house. Elena's chin lifted from her pillow, defiance sparking in her faded eyes. Pollution? Speak plainly, Padre, or leave. He clutched his rosary tighter, beads clicking like judgments. Your daughter living in sin as before. And you harboring it. The church cannot bless a soul entangled in such depravity. Hope rose, her posture boardroom perfect, but her voice laced with the fire of 15 years' exile. Depravity? That's rich, coming from a man who turned a blind eye when my father beat me out the door. Ruiz's gaze snapped to her, nostrils flaring. You were warned, child. The wages of your choices. My choices. Hope stepped forward, Poppy's hand warm in hers. Loving someone isn't a sin, Father. Hiding from it is. The room crackled with tension. Mateo shifted uncomfortably, Elena's breath ragged in the silence. Poppy, ever the quiet storm, spoke then. We've paid enough, Padre. Buried a child, lost years. Isn't that penance? Ruiz's face twisted. Pity? Disgust? A child? This. Fruit of your folly. Hope's grip tightened on Poppy's hand. Maria was innocent. And loved. More than your dogma could ever understand. The priest recoiled, crossing himself. Blasphemy. Elena, renounce this. For your soul's sake. Elena's laugh was a wheeze, but it cut deep. My soul's fine, Ruiz. Yours? That's between you and God. She waved a trembling hand. Go. We're done with shadows. He left in a huff, the door slamming like an excommunication. The finca sighed in relief, but the encounter lingered, a poison seeping into the walls. Hope paced the hallway, adrenaline surging. He'll stir the town. Protests, boycotts, your shop, Poppy. Poppy nodded, weary but resolute. Let them. I've faced worse. Elena called them back, her voice faint. He's always been a fool. But the board tomorrow. The Vineyard Co-op. They'll hear of this. The co-op meeting. Hope had forgotten the annual vote on expansions where the Vargas Finca held sway. Mateo explained in hushed tones. Rivals sniffing for weakness, ready to oust the family legacy. Papa built it brick by brick. If we lose, we won't. Hope's mind raced, the entrepreneur in her awakening. I'll handle it. That afternoon she commandeered the study, laptop open, video calling her team in San Francisco. Redirect that solar prototype to Huelva. Fast-track it. We pitch green energy for the groves, irrigation, carbon credits. Make it irresistible. Mateo watched awed. You're really doing this? For us. For me, Hope corrected gently. Redemption's a two-way street. Poppy helped brewing endless coffee, her presence a steady hum. As night fell, they worked side by side, shoulders touching, laughter bubbling up over botched translations, Hope's American slang clashing with Poppy's Andalusian idioms. You're still hopeless with siestas, Poppy teased, brushing a crumb from Hope's lip. And you're still distracting. Hope shot back, but her eyes held heat, not flirtation, deep, abiding want. The meeting dawned gray, clouds brooding over the co-op hall in town center. Hope arrived in a power suit, Poppy at her side in a crisp blouse, Elena's blessing a locket around her neck, Maria's repurposed. The room buzzed. Farmers in corduroy suits from Seville, Ruiz lurking in the back like a raven. Don Luis, the chairman and old family rival, called order. Elena Vargas sends regrets. Her daughter speaks for the finca. Murmurs rippled. Hope took the podium, projector humming to life. Gentlemen and ladies, she nodded to the few women present. The future isn't in clinging to the past. It's in innovation. Slides flashed. Solar panels on trellises, AI-monitored yields, projections soaring like eagles. She wove data with passion, her American cadence cutting through the skepticism. We've lost too much to drought to doubt. This isn't charity. It's survival. Partnership. Questions flew. Costs, timelines, but Hope parried with grace, Poppy chiming in on local soil quirks. Ruiz stood midway, voice oily. And what of morals? A family divided by unnatural alliances. Can we trust such leadership? The room tensed. Hope met his stare. Morals? Like compassion? Like building rather than breaking? Judge the fruit, Padre, not the tree. Applause erupted, tentative then thunderous. Don Luis called the vote. Unanimous for the expansion, Vargas seat secured. As they filed out, a young farmer, barely 20, with a rainbow pin on his lapel, approached Poppy. Thank you. For being brave. Poppy's eyes misted. We all are, Mijo. Back at the finca, celebration was bittersweet. Elena rallied for lunch, fresh sardines grilled on the patio, laughter flowing freer. But as shadows lengthened, she pulled Hope aside. The truth, part 2. Your father. He knew about Poppy before that night. Hope stilled. What? A letter. From her mother warning us. He burned it, but it ate at him. That's why the rage. Guilt twisted into hate. The pieces clicked. The overprotectiveness, the late-night rosaries. He loved me in his way. Elena nodded. As I do. Forgive him. Forgive me. Hope's tears fell hot. I do. Mama. The embrace was fierce, mending fractures. Poppy watched from afar, her own healing a quiet bloom. But betrayal's shadow loomed larger that evening. A package arrived, anonymous, postmarked Seville. Inside photos. Grainy shots of Hope and Poppy in the vineyard, time-stamped yesterday. And a note. Repent or the world sees your shame. A friend. Hope's blood ran cold. Blackmail. From whom? Ruiz? A co-op holdout? The town, rearing its hydra heads. Poppy paled, clutching the note. We can't let this. We won't. Hope's jaw set. I've faced worse sharks in Silicon Valley. This? Personal. She hired a local investigator that night, discreet, ex Mossos de Esquadra. While Poppy fortified the bookstore, installing cameras. Tension coiled like a spring. Days blurred. Elena's treatments, vineyard tours with Poppy's gentle guidance, Stolen moments where hands lingered, eyes promised tomorrows. The climax crested on All Saints' Eve, fog thick as deception. Hope's phone buzzed, investigator. Meet at the old chapel. Sender's there. She went alone against Poppy's protests, the Mercedes headlights carving ghosts from the mist. The chapel loomed on the hill, bells tolling midnight. Inside, candlelight flickered on saints' faces. And there in the nave, not Ruiz but Mateo. Brother. Hope's voice echoed. He turned face ashen, photos in hand. I did it, Hope. The package. To protect us. Betrayal fresh and familial. Protect? By threatening me. Tears streaked his cheeks. The co-op rumors were flying. Ruiz pushing votes against us. I thought. Scare you off. Send you back to America. Keep the peace. Hope's heart fractured. After everything? Mama's confession, our rebuilding. I panicked. Mateo crumpled. Like always. I'm sorry. The door creaked, Poppy defying orders with Elena in a wheelchair, oxygen tank hissing. Enough, Iho, Elena commanded. No more lies. Confrontation unfolded in whispers and wails. Mateo's guilt over the letters, the child he never knew, the brother he wished he'd been. Hope raged, then softened, seeing the boy beneath the man. Family isn't perfection. It's showing up. They burned the photos in the brazier, ashes swirling like absolved sins. Ruiz, informed anonymously, slunk away in disgrace, his influence waning. As dawn broke, clear and merciful, Hope held Poppy on the chapel steps, Elena and Mateo nearby. The hidden truth, Hope murmured, wasn't betrayal. It was fear. Ours, all of us. Poppy kissed her forehead. And love. Stronger. The ashes of the photos cooled in the chapel brazier, but the fire they'd kindled in Hope's soul burned steady and true. Dawn painted the Sierra de Aracena in hues of rose and amber, the fog lifting like a veil torn asunder. Mateo knelt by his mother's wheelchair, head bowed in contrition, while Elena stroked his hair with a tenderness Hope hadn't witnessed since childhood. Poppy stood sentinel beside her, their fingers intertwined. A quiet declaration amid the ruins of revelation. We go home, Hope said, her voice a bridge over the chasm of the night. No one argued. The drive back wound through awakening groves, the world reborn in the light. At the finca they gathered in the kitchen, not the grand dining hall, but the heart of the home, where garlic hung in braids and the wood stove crackled with promise. Mateo brewed chocolate caliente, thick and spiced, passing mugs with murmured apologies that needed no reply. Elena sipped hers, color returning to her cheeks. Today we live. No more ghosts. The days that followed were a tapestry of tentative healing. Hope deferred her return to San Francisco, delegating Vanguard's empire to trusted lieutenants. Emails pinged with updates on the Huelva solar rollout, but her focus sharpened here on soil and souls. She and Poppy fell into rhythms rediscovered. Mornings in the bookstore, shelving tomes on forbidden loves, Sappho Radcliffe Hall, while afternoons bled into vineyard walks, hands swinging, stories unfurling like vines. One such walk led them to the shed, its door ajar like an invitation. Inside, dust motes danced in sunbeams, the air redolent of fermented earth. Hope traced their initials on the wall, faded but enduring. H+P. We made it. Poppy leaned against her, auburn curls tickling Hope's neck. We did. But scars remain. Hope turned, cupping her face, thumbs brushing freckles like constellations realigned. Scars tell stories. Ours? Triumph. Their kiss was inevitable, soft as sea mist, deep as the Atlantic that had separated them. No urgency, only reclamation. A sealing of vows unspoken. When they parted breathless, Poppy whispered, Stay. Build with me. Hope's heart swelled. Not forever. But long enough. Elena watched their evolutions with quiet approval, her strength ebbing but spirit soaring. Hospice visits wove through the routine, the nurse praising her lucidity. One evening as twilight bruised the sky, Elena gathered them on the veranda. Hope, Poppy, Mateo, even village friends who'd braved the gossip. My will, she announced, unfolding papers yellowed with age. Leaves the finca to you three. Equal shares. No conditions. Mateo blinked. Mama. Listen. Her voice, though weak, commanded. We've bled for this land. Now let it heal us. Poppy, your family. Always were. Tears gleamed in Poppy's eyes. Gracias, Elena. For everything. The reading devolved into toasts. Sherry raised to second chances, laughter chasing shadows. Hope caught Mateo's eye across the table. He nodded, a pact sealed. Brother and sister mending. But drama's undercurrent stirred anew when the press descended. A Madrid tabloid, scenting scandal splashed headlines. Billionaire heiress returns. Lesbian love rekindled in Spanish heartland? Photographers lurked at the gates, drones buzzing like vultures. Hope's phone erupted. Queries from Forbes, condemnations from conservative outlets. She faced it head-on, releasing a statement through Vanguard. Love is the ultimate innovation. My roots in Huelva remind me. Growth thrives in sunlight, not secrecy. The backlash roared, boycotts called, shares dipped, but allies emerged. Queer activists in Barcelona, American expats in Sevilla. Even a viral thread from a young coder in Hope's network. If she can code the future, we can rewrite the past. Poppy's bookstore became ground zero. Supporters flooding in with rainbow bookmarks and handwritten notes. You're our story, one widow told her, pressing a worn copy of The Well of Loneliness into her hands. The town, slow to shift, began to crack. Father Ruiz transferred to a parish in Extremadura. His replacement a soft-spoken Jesuit with a blog on inclusive theology. Through it all, Elena faded gracefully. Her final week, Hope read to her. Passages from Lorca, poems of Duende and desire. Poppy sang lullabies in a voice like aged rum. Mateo whittling crib toys from olive wood. A nod to the grandchild he'd never know but honored. On a crystalline morning, the Atlantic breeze carrying salt and sorrow, Elena slipped away. Hope held her hand, Poppy at her side, Mateo weeping openly. No dramatics, just peace, the Virgin's icon watching benignly. The funeral was a tapestry. Co-op members in somber suits, villagers with casseroles, a choir blending Gregorian chants with flamenco riffs. Hope eulogized. She taught us fear's cost and love's reward. Rest, mama. You've earned the light. In the weeks after, grief wove with growth. The solar panels rose like metallic sunflowers, powering the groves into bounty. Hope and Poppy renovated the guest cottage into a home. Bookshelves lining walls, a studio for Poppy's budding poetry. Mateo courted a baker from town. His smiles genuine at last. One evening, as harvest moon rose fat and forgiving, they stood on the hilltop, the dramatic crest where olive trees twisted like ancient lovers. Hope pulled Poppy close, the locket glinting at her throat. The hidden truth? It wasn't loss. It was us. Surviving to find this. Poppy's green eyes shimmered. And the billionaire? Hope laughed, American twang cutting the night. Just hope. Your hope. Their embrace silhouetted against the moon. The world below humming with life renewed. Betrayal's sting dulled to wisdom. Conflict to community. Drama to the quiet romance of two women claiming their dawn. In the hills of western Spain, under a sky vast as forgiveness, they wrote the ending. Not tragic but triumphantly human. Love unbowed illuminating the way.